Welcome back to Legacy Leaders. I'm Juan.
I'm Ben.
At Legacy Leaders, we don't talk about success, we talk about becoming it. Legacy Leaders starts in the mind. You cannot lead others efficiently until you lead your inner world. Manifestation becomes a power when your conscious direction and subconscious programming align. What do you think about this topic, bro? It's a big one.
It is a big one. I think manifestation starts with, your conscious mind. Like you said, you have to make a decision to go after what you want, but it bleeds over into your unconscious mind through repetition and what we do on a daily. I think when a lot of times people fail at manifestation because those two things don't align.
Yeah.
Their conscious mind says, oh, I'm going to do this. This is my goal. This is what I'm going to go after. And their subconscious mind is doubting themselves.
Yeah.
It's giving themselves, oh, I don't think I can do that, or I'm not good enough, or the imposter syndrome that we talked about before. And those two don't align. And that's why your manifestation is not coming to fruition. So manifestation is a powerful thing if it's done right, but you have to remap your mind, your neurological system, by starting with the conscious mind and making a decision to do certain things, whether it's journaling, positive affirmations, thought, prayer, meditation. Those things dictate your conscious mind that bleed over into a habitual unconscious mind by neurologically remapping your brain and the way you think. So that's a big topic because I think a lot of people don't understand the connection between conscious and subconscious mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's where I think the disconnect is a lot of times for people.
Like you said, I actually love this topic, bro, because throughout my journey, I've been able to get more into the manifestation and understanding the conscious, subconscious mind. Coming from the streets, I've talked about it. I didn't understand any of that stuff, and I thought it was just part of my life, but it really wasn't. It was what I was programming my mind to think. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. Realistically, I'm not a criminal. I'm just a normal person. But in my mind, because I did all this stuff, I was based as a criminal, so my persona was a criminal, and you start understanding I'm not a criminal. I just did some mistakes that I fixed, and I move on with my life. But it doesn't make me a criminal. That's just a persona that they put me as, but it's not that. But also, for me, the mind is more powerful than anything in the world. The way you talk to yourself and the way the words, the tongue is powerful because the words that you put out become reality. You start talking negative, realistically, everything around you becomes negative. And when you talk positive, everything around you becomes positive, And when you talk to yourself, start telling yourself, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire. And then realistically, your subconscious mind is going to believe everything that you tell yourself. And then next thing you know, those steps, it's like I said, it aligns it. You start aligning everything, you start making those stuff. And the biggest thing is, if you really read all these books, you watch all these entrepreneurs, all these public speaking people, they talk about manifestation, the power of subconscious and conscious mind, and speaking to yourself positively and writing down your stuff. And eventually you write down, you speak it, and you start listening to it, but not only listening to it, taking action, because one most important thing is action. Because you can manifest everything you want, but if you don't put action behind your manifestation, nothing's going to happen. But if you align all those things, guess what? Everything starts playing out how it's supposed to be. And for me, this topic right here is going to hit home for a lot of people, because a lot of people probably stuck with that I am. This is how I am. This is how I am, and I cannot change.
We talked about that in previous episodes, right? Like even when we're talking about like some females walking around with RBF, like, oh, I'm a bitch. This is who I am, and the world conforming to you. You put that persona, and now you're telling yourself that over and over. You're telling other people that, so you're beginning to rewire your brain. The repetition of how we act, whether it's journaling, whether it's thoughts, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, that's what remaps our conscious brain into our unconscious brain. And so a lot of people get stuck in that rut where they start doubting themselves. So one of the best things you can do for manifestation is get a win. Get a small win, right? If you get a small win, you start to believe in yourself. So get another win and get another win, and things start stacking up. A lot like emotions being contagious, so is winning or losing. It becomes a habitual thing. The more you win, the more you're going to win, because it's a dopamine, it's a serotonin thing. It feels good to be a winner, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, man, I'm going to go to work today and suck at my job, or I'm going to go to school, I'm going to fail my class today. Like, nobody wakes up wanting to be a shitty person. We all have goals, we have aspirations, we all want to do different things in life. And so to connect the conscious brain to the subconscious brain, you got to remove all the haters, you got to remove all the doubt, you got to remove the self-doubt. But the only way to do that is be intentional and habitually practice those things with positive affirmations, journaling, reflecting, thoughts and prayer, going into your faith. So a lot of people, like we've talked about in previous episodes, is people like Nipsey Hussle or different hip hop stars, A lot of those guys like Drake, you know, he'll talk about money and making money and fast cars. And in the beginning, he didn't have none of that. You know, it was all a show, it was a facade. But the manifestation allowed him to propel his career and his personal way he's doing things. And now he has all that, right? Like he's got money, his cars, people around him, you know. So that manifestation is a very powerful thing. Tell yourself, you know, trick your own mind until it becomes something of fruition and it comes into play and it's something physical you can see, touch, feel, you know. But it's mind over matter, but it starts with your mind, right? And then you got to create action, which is the physical part, but you also have to believe, and that's the spiritual and faith part. You know, all those things got to come into alignment before your manifestation will actually take place. A lot of people are like, oh, if I think it, it'll happen. Well, it doesn't work like that. It has to be intentional. You have to put thought behind it. You have to put your disciplines in order, like get up every day and do X, Y, and Z, whether it's journaling at night, reflecting on your day, or getting up and hitting the gym and talking to yourself and believing in yourself. And it's a thing that you intentionally have to do. It's not just something you can pray and throw up a prayer and all of a sudden you get it, right?
You know, that's the one thing that most people got to understand. You know, you can act, you can speak and do all this stuff, but if you're not putting action towards what you really want, then guess what? You're not going to have results for what you're looking for. And that's where a lot of people mistake, you know, because they say, I am, but what are the actions? What are they doing? Are the actions aligning with what they're talking about? Because sometimes it doesn't align, and when it doesn't align, guess what? It doesn't play out how you expect it to be. And like last episode, you said sometimes you got to have that mentality, not yet. Oh, yeah, I don't have it, not yet. You know, exactly. But I will have it, you know. And when you put that chip in your mind, you start, okay, not yet. I don't know how to do it yet, but I will know how to do it, because I'm going to work on it until I can't get it wrong, you know. But have you ever set a goal that felt right but couldn't make yourself follow through?
I think we set goals all the time. We want to push ourselves, right? Like if it was easy, everyone would do it. We talk about that. So your goals have to be just outside your reach sometimes. But if you shoot for the stars, maybe you don't make it out of the atmosphere, but you still made it higher than everyone else. And that's the goal. So it's the pursuit of excellence. You know, if you're always pursuing to be excellent, you're going to end up great. You know, you may fall short of being excellent, but you're always chasing something. That goes back to not setting a goal necessarily, because then you're hitting a destination, right? So we've talked about falling in love with the process before, right? I mean, that's one of the first things you and I discussed after I had you read Chop Wood, Carry Water is, hey, you're not going to make it overnight. If you make it overnight, then what? Because you've arrived at a destination, now you're staying there and everyone else is passing you. So you have to become a lifelong learner. And if you don't reach the goal, set a different goal. You know, set a different mentality and say, okay, but don't give yourself an out. Say, oh, you know, I'm going to try my best. That's giving yourself an out. You're already assuming you're not going to hit it. That's that self-doubt. So when you go to the manifestation, I'm going to hit it, I'm going to hit it, I'm going to hit it. You know, set it outside your reach, you know. If you can't set a goal to be difficult, then you're not challenging yourself. Your dream's not big enough. We've talked about that before. You know, your dream of running a podcast and getting on stage, it's not just like, hey, I'm going to do this for a month and then give up. Like you've been doing this now for a couple months. You know, so do you give up on it or do you keep shooting for it? You know, do we get something set up on a stage, get something set up at a conference room or a hotel and speaking in front of people? That becomes action. And that becomes a habitual thing, and that becomes an intentional thing that you're manifesting and you're building on it. It's a process. It's not an end game.
You know, I was reading last night Jim Rohn book. I just got a Jim Rohn book the other day sent to me, and it talks about the philosophy. Your philosophy. What is your philosophy? You know, and that kind of connects with this. You know, because what is your philosophy? What are your beliefs? What can you? Your beliefs basically. What are your beliefs? What do you stand for? And that kind of comes with the power of manifestation and all that, you know. That's your philosophy, your conscious and unconscious mind. What are you telling yourself every single day, you know? And I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with someone about this, and I was telling them what we speak is what becomes reality, because everything that we speak into to existence becomes a reality. Why? Because we start believing it. When we start believing it, everything around us starts happening. And a lot of people don't understand that, you know, that they speak all this, I'm broke. The broke is just broke. You know, broke is just a word. It's a state of mind. If you keep on telling yourself I'm broke, well, I don't have enough to pay this bill. I don't have enough to do this.
If you're got that mentality of I'm broke, you're gonna stay broke. You know, it's the not yet. It goes back to the not yet. Like, I don't have enough money yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
now what can I do, right? You're not going to let a crackhead out hustle you.
Yeah.
You know, you see those memes all the time.
Yeah.
People joke about that. Like, oh, you're not going to let a crackhead out hustle you today. Did they get up and say, oh, I don't have enough money for crack today?
Yeah.
Nah, they get up. They find a will. They find a way. They go buy their crack. You know, and it's the same thing with a dream or a goal. If you set that not yet mentality, you start to begin to dissect the actionable steps, the smaller steps that you can take to reach that goal. You know, and that goal becomes another goal, and that's what alludes to the process instead of just obtaining one goal. So when you talk about philosophy, it really comes down to your values, you know, taking care of people. If you look at, like we talked about me before, my goal is always to wake up and say, did I do better today than I did yesterday? Yes. And that doesn't matter if it's just career-wise. You know, it could be career, it could be my family, it could be my personal health. There's always, can I be better today than I was yesterday? And that's a personal philosophy. You're talking about philosophy. That's what I wake up want to do. I want to strive for greatness, and I want to bring people with me. Yeah. Who did I impact today? Who did I help today? Who did I extend my hand to and bring up with me today? And that becomes a internal dialogue that leads to the manifestation. And you got to be able to set those goals, but understand that it's not an end game. Yeah. You know, the end game is when I'm in the coffin. Yeah. You put me 6 feet down, I'm done. Yeah. You know, and now let's talk about how that end game is still not done even when I'm there, because I want to leave a lasting legacy, whether it's through a book, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through personal relationships, and that knowledge gets passed down to my kids, to my grandkids, to my great-grandkids, and it keeps going based off of your daily philosophy and your manifestation, and you teaching other people to come alongside you and understand that it's obtainable.
Yeah, so let's get into the conscious versus subconscious mind. A conscious mind is logic, goals, and willpower. Mind is beliefs, identity, and habits. 95% of behaviors is subconscious. Leadership happens when your internal identity doesn't match your external ambition. 95% of your behavior is subconscious, and you know, a lot of people don't realize that we breathe because of the subconscious mind. You know, when we go to sleep, breathe. You know, our subconscious mind is still working. That always works. You know, it's working 24/7 no matter what, because that subconscious mind is keeping us alive, because it keeps on telling us to breathe, to breathe, to breathe. Imagine if your subconscious mind stopped working, guess what? You're not going to wake up the next morning because you didn't tell yourself to breathe. Yeah. So that subconscious mind is always programmed, and it's always telling you. I'll give you guys a quick example. I'm not sure if you guys ever listen to music while you're going to sleep, but when you wake up, you're singing the song. It's happened to me, and that's why I'm saying it. Or you listening to something. I'll tell you guys a story. It's a movie called, I believe it's Cry Baby with Johnny Depp. It's a story. My brother was watching it one night, and I woke up singing one of the songs. Why? Because my mind was listening to it, and I woke up and I started singing. I told my brother, were you watching this movie? He's like, yeah. He's like, why? I was like, because I woke up singing that song for some reason. Yeah. And he started laughing. But that's my subconscious mind getting that information and going to my head. And when I woke up, I was singing in the song because it kept on playing. You know?
I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, your subconscious mind's always playing. So you see a lot of successful people do like meditation audios, podcasts, things like that when they're sleeping, or they do white noise or gray noise or brown noise. You know, there's the Calm app out there on your phone that you can listen to different things. And there's something to be said about that, because your mind is constantly working, whether you're in a state of REM, you know, in your sleep cycle, or if you're awake, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind really is the habits and the patterns that you make with your conscious mind, right? Like, you know when to eat because you're hungry, but your subconscious mind reminds you when you're hungry, so that your conscious mind can say, hey, I'm gonna go get a burger or whatever it is. You know, so the patterns that you have from your conscious mind reflect in your subconscious, whether it's breathing, eating, manifesting, anything like that. You know, so the unconscious mind really is kind of like the engine room, so to speak, of your daily disciplines and what you do, whether you're sleeping, awake, doesn't matter, right? Yeah. So like you said, it's the beliefs, the habits, emotions, it's automatic patterns. So it's internally programming what your goals are and what you consciously decide to do when you're awake. You know what I mean? That's where it comes into play. So, but those things come into play based off of repetition, right? You breathe because you have repetition of breathing. Yeah. There's a reason why you're in the womb for 9 months. Caring for your mother, caring for your body, right? Your mom is feeding you through your umbilical cord, right? Like, you're learning how to eat. She's doing the eating for you, right? She's doing the breathing for you. You're getting oxygen through her. So it's not like you just automatic conception, right? Boom, I'm born, I know how to breathe. You know, a lot of babies will come out, and they'll inhale what's called meconium.
Yeah.
It's basically where they inhale fluids, and then they end up in the NICU because they don't know how to breathe yet. So that's in their lungs for a few days, right? So they put them on oxygen, they put them on breathing and stuff like that, which makes the repetition of their lungs open and close that gives them the ability to consciously have their lungs work, right? So that's how the unconscious mind works. We're trained to do everything, whether it's eat, breathe, manifesting. When you're unconscious, like you said, your mind never shuts off. So it goes back to neurologically, to be honest with you. So when you're having those positive affirmations, even if you don't believe it in the beginning and you do have self-doubt, if you get up every day and you got a dry erase marker and you put on your mirror in your bathroom, like, I'm gonna kick ass today, and you brushing your teeth and you read that, like, I'm gonna kick ass today, you start to believe it, right? It takes 21 days to make a habit. So if I read I'm gonna kick ass today for 21 days, I'm probably gonna wake up on day 22, I'm gonna go kick some ass, because I've been telling myself for 21 days, I've neurologically remapped my brain to believe that stuff. You know, those neurological receptors that you have in your body, that's what tells you when you're hungry, when you're hurt, when you're mad, when you're sad, when you're tired, when you're hungry, all that stuff. You know, so to remap that stuff is really what it comes down to with the unconscious brain. But, you know, something to be said about how the world works, right? Like, you tie that into your faith. You know, faith just amplifies manifestation. It brings out trust, patience, direction. It allows you to believe beyond your circumstances and act with confidence. It turns doubt into expectancy. So if I'm constantly having inner dialogue of prayer or meditation, you know, I'm teaching myself to believe in myself. And when you believe in yourself, that manifestation from the unconscious mind meets the conscious mind. And that's where it's a powerful thing and it starts to work.
It's when it aligns, you know, you get that. Like I always, it's going through all these books that I read and listening to a lot of podcasts, and especially with Ed Milet, you know, that one's a good one. He talks about all this stuff, you know, about the subconscious and the conscious mind. And he starts breaking it down to you, and you know, you start realizing that you speak those things, like you just said, I'm gonna kick ass, you know. And before I didn't talk to myself that way, you know. I just woke up and I kept on going. And that mentor that I always talk about, that he's anonymous, he started telling me that too, you know. He's like, tell yourself that you kick ass, be confident in yourself. You wake up every morning and say, I'm a millionaire, I'm blessed, I'm happy. Start speaking what you want into your life, and tell yourself every single day. And if one day, hopefully I can get him on the podcast sooner than later, but this guy's a confident person, you know. He's super confident. He believes in himself 100%. It's not because he's arrogant or cocky or anything, but he just has confidence in himself, you know. But it's because he talked to himself that way, and he tells himself that, you know, hey, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna do all this stuff that I'm gonna do, you know. And a lot of people take him for cocky, but it's not cockiness, it's just the confidence that he has because he spoke all that positivity into himself, so he believes everything that he's doing. And sometimes we need to do that, because there's a lot of people out here, and I'll say firsthand, you know, I didn't have no confidence in myself, but when I started speaking those positive words of affirmation to myself every single day, and eventually, guess what? I believed everything I believed, but I also put the work in it, and I've been able to have the results. And now I wake up every morning, I tell myself I'm gonna kick ass today, I'm gonna get a win, you know, whatever win it is, you know. It can be a small win. I like Andy Frisella, he said, win today. You know,
just win the day.
Win the day. Just win the day. Put 5 tasks, and, you know, make sure you challenge those 5 tasks, because if you do more than 5 tasks, what's going to happen? Your brain's not going to process all that, and that comes to the conscious and subconscious mind, that your brain's not going to process all those things, and you're going to try tackling every single thing in one hit, and you're not going to be able to accomplish those 20 tasks that you put. And what's the brain going to do? I lost today.
Yeah,
and you're just going to push yourself down, you know.
Exactly.
Instead of saying, I'm going to do these 5 wins, I get the 5 wins. It can be small wins, whatever you want to do. You know, I think there's a video that says, Navy SEAL says, or Marine, I'm not sure, he says, make your bed every single day. That's a small win.
Yeah, Make Your Bed is a good book, man. And basically it starts with the principle of getting up and making your bed, because you literally won right off the bat, right? If you did nothing else today, you made your bed. And if that's your goal, to make your bed, you already hit one of your goals, right? There's another book out there called Eat That Frog. And that's another one. It talks about doing your hardest thing first, right? So instead of, a lot of times we get overwhelmed with the hard tasks, or we get that built up anxiety about doing a certain thing, and you're like, oh man, I'll do it later, and you procrastinate, and then at the end of the day it's not done, and then you're down on yourself. So Eat That Frog, the principle of that book basically states, like, put your hardest thing first in the day. So if you do nothing else today, you accomplish the hard thing. So it keeps you from procrastinating, and then you see it as a win, like we're talking about, that win. But it's funny, because you go back to the guy you were talking about, right? We both know him pretty well. His thing is he's not arrogant, he's not cocky, he's just confident. And his confidence, I think, relates to, he doesn't place his own personal value on the perception of other people. or what they think about him. His value comes from himself. It comes from believing in himself and his higher power and his spirit and his himself. Right? So he doesn't place a lot of pressure on himself based off of other people's opinions. But he also understands that his value is not dictated by his position, his work, his career, his family. Like, his family is the biggest thing he goes after, right? Like, he loves his kids, his wife, but his value is placed on himself. He values himself as a person based off of the positive affirmations and the things he says. So instead of being like, hey, my name's Ben, I run this restaurant, right? Now you're judging me for what I do, not for who I am. We've talked about that in previous episodes. So one of the reasons he walks around so confident is because he knows who he is in his skin, and he's comfortable with being who he is. That gives him the ability to say the word no. A lot of people don't say no because they're afraid of hurting people or hurting feelings or wanting to be liked or anything like that. If you place so much value on yourself, doesn't matter if everyone else likes you. Not really, right? And so he's at a place of interpersonal knowledge and self-awareness that he knows there's things that he needs to fix in himself. He knows that. He'll tell you what his shortcomings are. We all have them. Nobody's perfect. He'll tell you exactly like, oh yeah, but he's confident that what he brings to the table as a person, as a human.
Well, let me hit him with this one. A leader who wants to inspire but subconsciously fears judgment, they'll always hold back.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that self-doubt that's created by the imposter syndrome, and that comes with your ability to do said job, whether it's leading in your career, your personal life, or anything. We all have self-doubt when our ability is not up here, right? If you're going, like, say, we work in restaurants, so let's use this as an example. You're a great cook, right? And then you get promoted to a manager. You're not going to be the best manager right off the bat because you don't know how to do that job. So there is something to be said with confidence level versus ability, right? So as you continue to work on your ability and your ability rises, your confidence rises. Then you get promoted again, you're right back down here, right? So you might be an A player when you're cooking, you might be a D player as a manager, and you got to work on those skills. So I think in order to get rid of the self-doubt, you have to make a conscious decision again, and you have to manifest it. But like you said earlier, you have to put action behind it. I can't just get up and hope to be the best manager today. I have to get up and make a conscious decision to say, I'm going to be the best manager. What do I need to do? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to emulate? Or what do they do well? How can I get to that level? So it's not just about the self-doubt. Really, you gotta understand where you're at. Meet yourself where you're at. Or if you're coaching someone else or you're leading someone else, meet them where they're at. Sometimes their ability is up here and your level of leadership is down here. You need to be humble enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. Why don't you teach me? Or, hey, let's go find it together. And that's what it comes down to. If you have that self-doubt and you're trying to lead people, you need to up your level of leadership. One thing like John Maxwell will talk about, the leadership lid. It's one of the 21 laws. The leadership lid states that if your leadership's a 5, you can't lead anyone at a 5 or above, right? The leadership lid is, I'm at a 5, now I can only lead 4s and below. So in order to lead someone else that's higher, I need to up my leadership lid and I need to up my game. So work on yourself first. And that goes back to working on yourself. If you're not confident, why aren't you confident? Do you need the abilities? Do you need the training? Do you need self-confidence with positive affirmations and manifestation? So that's where it starts for me on a situation like that.
Yeah, and it says fears judgment, because that subconscious mind's going to be telling you, well, what are they going to say about me? Oh, they're going to talk smack about me. Oh, they're going to make fun of me. And that automatically puts that fear in you that you're not going to do what you wanted to do because now you're over here judging. That person I talk to, he always tells me, he's like, Juan, do you think the people are worried about what you're doing over here? These people have so much problems in their own life that they're focused trying to do their own thing. They're not even looking your way, bro. He's like, so if you fall, a lot of people ain't going to notice. You're just going to get up and keep on walking. He's like, but your mind is programmed to start telling you, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to make fun of me. They're going to crack jokes about me. But realistically, everybody in the world has their own problems, and nobody's worried about you or what you got going on because they're so worried about their problems and what they're trying to get done throughout their day. So our fears and our subconscious and our conscious starts programming that okay, what are they going to say about me? Or what are they going to do? Well, what if I fail? Subconsciously, you're programming yourself to shut down and not be able to do it. But realistically, you might step up to the stage and you got all these fears. What if I say this word wrong? But 99% of those people that are sitting down watching you talk have more fear of standing up there than you do.
That's why they're there. They're trying to learn from you. So it's funny because I take a story time, right? So I went to a wedding recently,
Yes.
right? And I was talking to the person, they were getting married and they were nervous, you know, is it going to go right? And is it going to be perfect? And here's my dream and here's what I foresee, right? Girls have watched Disney their whole life.
Yes.
A lot of them, right? So they have this fairy tale wedding set in their mind and where it's going to be and the sun hits me just right and my dad walking me down, all this stuff. And for them to think that way, that's great, right? You want to know what you want. But do you think everyone else sitting in the crowd watching that wedding knew your picture perfect wedding?
No.
They probably didn't, right? So at the end of the day, we put a lot of emphasis on what other people think, but they don't even know how it's supposed to go. Yeah. So if something doesn't go according to plan, they might not even know. They might still think it was a beautiful reception, beautiful wedding, beautiful event. You know, so whether it's a speaking event, whether it's a wedding, whether it's your personal life, we fear judgment of other people because we value acceptance among our peers. I was talking to a guy last night. It's harder for me to get up in a room and talk to people that I know because of the fear of judgment, because I'm going to see you again, right? Yeah. We're going to see each other every day. So if I say something wrong, that may be in the back of your mind. So that fear is a little bit more. I could get up to a crowd of 100, 200, 1,000 people I don't know, and I could talk all day. You know why? I may never not see you again. Yeah. So no matter what you think, it might be one of those things like, hey, cool, you know, that's your opinion, great. One, you don't know me personally on that level, so your opinion shouldn't carry that much weight, so I'm less worried about it. But someone that I know deeply or I'm intimate with, I'm more vulnerable with those people, right? Like if I have to go and give a speech and my wife's in the crowd, I might be a little more vulnerable, you know what I mean? Because she knows me more than anyone else. If I say something inaccurate or wrong or offend her or anything like that, I'm more nervous about that than 1,000 people I don't know. Right? So I think you got to understand that the value you place on whether it's a speech you're giving or people that you know or anything like that, the value that you give those people should not be determined on what your perception of perfect, whether it's an event or your personal life or anything like that.
And I like that you just said that about that story, because realistically, my first presentation that I gave, I was super nervous, you know, and I ended up finishing it, and actually everybody was impressed with what I did, you know.
And you thought you botched it.
And I thought I botched it, you know. I thought I did super bad, but everybody's coming up to me, shaking my hand, hugging me, say, hey, you know what, I like that presentation. It was super good, you know, super impactful, super, you know, gave me the knowledge and everything that I needed, you know. It's just your story, everything behind it. He's like, and the crazy part was, from that presentation, I got invited to go do another presentation down the hill the next week.
Yeah.
From what I did, but in my mind, I was so scared. I started sweating, you know, started getting nervous, and I just went up there and I just played it how it was supposed to be, and I started speaking, and I let it all out, you know. And my brother was impressed. Everybody in that crowd was impressed with what I did, you know, and they shook my hand, you know, say, hey, that's amazing information for the knowledge that you have, you know. I'm a super quiet person around people I really don't know.
You're an observer. We've talked about before. You're an observer. So it's not like you just come out of your shell and you're like, hey, let me get in front of this room of 100 people and just go ham for an hour and talk about things that I know. Because you do well on a podcast, you know, one-on-one with me and you, but we have these same conversations every day. Yeah. So it's a lot harder to get in front of a crowd for you because you're naturally not an extrovert. You're an introvert. You're an observer. You like to watch. But when you get up there, those people don't know what you're going to speak about. And they're in the room to learn. Yeah. They're in the room to get your knowledge, right? So you know 100% more than they do at that point. Yes. They're seeking you for your advice and your knowledge and your expertise on those things, whether it's leadership, whether it's your business that you're participating in. Anything like that, you know. So
let's get into the science of manifestation. Manifestation equals alignment, not magic. Your thoughts influence emotion. Emotion drives behavior. Behavior creates results.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things with manifestation that people don't do enough, and this we can almost go into a whole nother episode on this topic, is gratitude. You know, the gratitude shifts the unconscious from scarcity to abundance. It trains your perception to find opportunities instead of obstacles. Yeah. So it rewires your mind instead of being like, oh man, I'm going to be late today. Oh man, this is going to happen. It takes that negativity away, and it really makes you start thinking like, hey, I got this today. I'm thankful that I have this. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful that guy said no because it allowed me to go talk to the next person who was a bigger sale. Yes. You know, so the gratitude shuts doors and opens other doors. So it helps you practice the positivity and the positive affirmations that you have in your life. So when you're gracious and when you have gratitude for the things that you do have, you get an abundance of more, right? The more gracious we are for what we have, or the more grateful we are for what we have, the easier it is to receive more. And we're looking for receiving more. And you can't fill someone else's cup unless your cup is full first, right? So we have to be gracious enough to understand and have the gratitude to really understand that when we're fulfilled, now I can pour into you.
Yes.
I can pour into my family. I can pour into my community because I'm fulfilled. I'm happy. I'm grateful for what I have, and now I can help the next person. And if you help someone else, what happens,
yes.
right? The power of gratitude and helping other people. If you help other people, they will help you get what you need or what
yes.
you want as well. So I think that's directly related to gratitude to the manifestation and the way the perception to find the opportunities instead of the obstacles. You know?
That's powerful words that you're saying, and that's the thing, being gratitude, as well, manifesting, having gratitude it's a powerful thing that you got to have, manifest. This house wouldn't have been accomplished if I didn't manifest me wanting this house, and the house, the deal closed pretty quick, bro. I told you I think it was
35 days or something like that.
I told you I think it was in October, September. I was like, hey, bro, I need to get a house.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, here's what you got to do. And then it was like, hey, man, I'm moving. I got a house.
It happened so quick, but I was manifesting. I started looking, and the thing is, I was actually like going to see the houses, what house. In my mind, I got to manifest what is the house that I want? What is my dream house?
What are you looking for?
Know exactly what I want. Manifest it. Okay, I want a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a medium-sized backyard, a nice front yard, big enough space for my family when they come to visit. They can stay with me, hang out, and you got to picture, okay, what color do I want that house? I want the house to be a tan color. The rooms, okay, I want them to be white, or whatever color you decide, But you got to manifest it and start speaking all these things that you want in life, Because here's the funny thing is, you can say, I want a car. And what if life gives you a 1980 Toyota Corolla all beat up? It's a car, right?
You asked for a car. That's what you got.
But you weren't specific with what kind of car you
gotta
wanted.
Be very detailed.
You say, hey, I want a 2025 Nissan Sentra, black car, black rims, interior red and black. It goes from 0 to 60 in this amount of time. And when you actually know exactly what you want, the power of manifestation, makes it happen because you're in that mind, you're telling yourself what you want, so you're automatically looking for what you want. And I forgot the word what it is, but when you start thinking of something, it automatically starts popping up, and kind of like your phone, when you think of something, sometimes your phone starts popping up.
That's some Big Brother type shit right there, though. You and I could be having a conversation about something, and all of a sudden I'm getting sponsor ads for like an hour, Yeah. But it does work very similar. It's the same way, once you're mapping it out. But if you're so detailed in manifesting what your goals are or what you're obtaining, like your house, for example, it gives you somewhere to start, and it gives you something that you're looking for. So now you can remove what you're not looking for. Yeah. So if you're looking for 4 bedrooms, you're not looking at houses that only have 2 bedrooms, right? If you're looking for a car, you're not looking for that 1989 Camry, right? Like you can remove the stuff you don't want by process of elimination at that point. So you're like, I know what I don't want. Okay, cool. I don't want to live in this city. I don't want to live in this town. I don't want to live in this house. I don't want to drive this jalopy-ass car. You know what I mean? So you're able to narrow down what you're looking for, so it makes your sights set in, right? Like if we're driving around town and I say, hey, Juan, man, there's a lot of red cars out today. You're automatically going to see a lot more red cars, right? But if I'm like, man, I haven't seen a pink car all day. You go, hey, there's a pink car. Hey, there's a pink car. All of a sudden you can point out pink cars to me, which there's a lot less than white or black or red, but when your mind starts to look for those things, that's the whole point of like the gratitude too, right? It trains your mind to look for those opportunities versus the obstacles. It's the same principle.
Yes.
When you're manifesting certain things and you're looking for certain things, now you're trying to find it, right? So if you're negative, you're always looking for a problem. If you're positive, you're always looking for an opportunity or a pat on the back or a win, right? And we talked about winning. So celebrate the smallest of wins, whether it's making your bed, whether it's, getting up and, hey, I'm 5 minutes early to work today. Celebrate those small wins, create the manifestation in your mind. You got to know where you're going. It's just like we talked about racing before. I'm like, hey, man, let's race to the finish line. Like, I'm on wings. You don't know where the hell I'm going. So it becomes that conscious decision that bleeds over to your unconscious, like we talked about.
And I like that bed one, because a lot of people think it's easy to make your bed, but how many people out there actually do make their bed when they wake up? Because half the time, I'll say it myself, there's times where I'm like, I'm going to go back to sleep when I get off of work. I wake up super early to go to work, and I'm like, when I get off of work, I'm going to take a nap. So what's the point of making my bed? That's a hard, thing to do for a lot of people, because
it is.
Their mindset is, well, I'm gonna go to bed later, so what's the point of making my bed? So you getting that win sometimes is a big win for people, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and I started doing it because my girlfriend always tells me make the bed when you wake up. Okay, I wake up, I make my bed, and now I started doing it. It became a habit because I wake up before I go to work. Even I wake up at like 4:25, 4:20 in the morning to get ready for work. But I make my bed before I leave.
Yeah.
You know, and then I go do the rest of the stuff that I need to do. But, you know, those small wins, you know, it hypes you up, it motivates you, you know, it gets your day going. But let's go into this next topic. It's the RAS, the Reticular Activating System. Filters your focus to match your beliefs. This is a big one, bro. That I didn't know what the hell it was, to be honest with you, bro. But it kind of programs it's in the back of your mind. It's the back of your head.
It's literally
you know?
the neurological system.
You know,
it takes it into every nerve in your entire body.
And I didn't know, you know, I didn't know about that. I was at a seminar one day, and they started talking about it. And that when that person started talking about it, caught my interest, bro. And I just started listening, you know, like that's some impactful stuff. But that actually programs your fear and all this stuff that it activates it. You know, a trauma happened 10 years ago, but it's in your nerve system, it's in your back of your head, and it automatically programs it, and it goes straight to your front of your head, and it becomes something conscious, you know, and it brings that fear that you were scared of. And now it stops most people from achieving what they want, you know, because that controls your traumas, everything that you've had in your life. It's in that little.
It's all there. It's all there. It's just like that. What's that kids movie out there with the emotions and stuff? Do you know which one I'm talking about? I can't remember the name of it. My kids watch it, but they got like fear and sadness and that. You know, it's funny because that, although it's a Pixar movie or whatever, it's very accurate description of how our thoughts can manipulate who we are, right? And your identity drives your destiny. So what you think really drives who you are. You manifest what you believe about yourself. When your faith reshapes your identity, that's you really putting your faith in God, but also in yourself, you know. So it's funny because we talked about the neurological system, and now RAS, man, it directly reflects, like when you have a thought, it's almost like in that movie they got these little balls that go down the memories, and then they launch them out in there. But that it's not an accurate description, obviously. That's not happening inside of you, but the way your thoughts become unconscious to conscious, it's mapping the neurological system of your body. Like, how do I move my hand like this? It's because I remember subconsciously can move my hands, right? I'm not thinking like, oh, I need to move my right hand. It's just moving. So same thing with the positive affirmations and the gratitude and everything like that. You know, it's all stored back there. Fear, you know, anger, all of
everything's stored back there. And that was, to me, was something like, bro, like I said, I didn't even understand. I didn't even know what there was. I was like, what the hell? And I was at the seminar with my friend, you know, my mentor that I'm talking about, and I told him, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, I don't know, dog. He's like, let's listen, and we listen, and that's like something very impactful. You start understanding a little more, you know. You understand where your fears come from your memories, from your traumas, and all this stuff that you've happened, you know. It's right there saved. It's a chip that's saved in your head, so automatically when something pops up, similar situation, it brings back either that fear, that anxiety, that sadness, that happiness. It activates it, and it brings your conscious and subconscious mind alert to what's happening, and that stops you from either being happy, sad, you know, whatever the case may be, but that activates that chip, you know. And that one right there, you know, if you haven't heard of it, you know, it's something that you should look up, you know, understand a little bit more information on that, you know, RAS. But what you believe and your world rearranges itself to match that belief. So what you believe, your world rearranges for you to have it. You know, your beliefs. If you believe it, you can achieve it. You know, it's that little
literally
phrase,
I mean, you can do anything you want, but then again, you have to manifestation, like you said earlier, requires action, not just intention. You know, so you can get up with the best of intentions and still fail at the day if you don't put action into it, you know. So you could pray, journal, visualize, but you also have to take the step. So, you know, you have to put these things into action. It has to be intentional, like we talked about. Now, there is things that like breathing, for example, it wasn't intentional. Like, I didn't wake up today like, man, I've got to remember to breathe today, right? But it was subconsciously, we learned that through 9 months of, you know, conception or whatever. So it's not something that you can take lightly, that you have to put action behind your intention. Like, I could want to be a good person all day. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a good person, right? Like, I have to actively get up and be kind to people and try and help other people and look for those opportunities, like I said, instead of the obstacles, in order to drive that force, you know. So you have to put action in it, like you said.
And I'm going to share this little story. I'm going to see what the listeners think. Drive to work and take the same road every single day. It happens to all of us, bro. And sometimes we don't even realize we're at a house because our subconscious starts kicking in, and you're just going with the motion because you already know your route to your house.
Sometimes I'll literally get in the car, right, and I'll be thinking, and so that's my subconscious. I'm like thinking, and I got my kids in the car, and all of a sudden I'm like halfway down the road to work. And my kids are like, where are we going? I'm like, oh, shit, I got to turn around. I got to take my kids to school. And my daughter will be like, oh, where are you supposed to go? Right there? And I'm turning left because I'm thinking about work. And all of a sudden I'm driving to work because I'm thinking about work. And they're in the back seat like, are we going to Disneyland again, Dad? Because we did that one time. We were like, hey, get in the car. We're going to school. Pulled them out of school for the day. And I kept driving, man. I went to Disneyland. So every time it happens, they get excited. And I'm like, oh, shit, no, sorry, my bad. We're not going to Disneyland. I was thinking about work, and I started driving to work. My fault. Like, you're going to school today. So, but it's funny because now when I surprise them, take them to Disneyland or something like that, they're like, oh, Dad's going to work.
It's pretty funny. And that's the crazy part, the subconscious mind. We do things without even knowing that we're doing it sometimes. Our mind's programmed already to do that, And that's one example, Try taking a different route to work, take a different route and see how your mind processes that. Sometimes there's another one that says if you brush your teeth with your right hand, do it with your left hand. Confuse your mind sometimes. You're already programmed to grab that, do it, and then you're brushing your teeth with your right hand. Do it with your left hand. Your brain's gonna be like, what's going on?
It makes your conscious mind really challenge your unconscious mind by those decisions you make. Right? There's another one. It's like when you get in your car in the morning, right? Like I just pulled into your driveway. Which way are you parked? Straight in, right? So you're automatically starting your day in reverse. When you get in your car, now you're going backwards, right? So subconsciously, you've already decided to go backwards. First thing you did in the morning, right? So if you back into your driveway, what's the first thing you do? You move forward, right? So it may seem like a stupid little thing, but it's one thing that I've actually started doing is that I don't park in a way where I start my day where I got to back up. I always go forward. Because my day is progressing. It's like a subconscious thing that I've started my day moving forward. Here I go. So it's weird. It seems like a little thing, but it's just like the music or the movie playing when you're going to sleep. You don't think about it. You're not like mentally aware that you're doing it. But I've already started the day going forward, and I feel like I'm already getting somewhere at that point,
Now let's get into reprogramming the subconscious mind. Tools for legacy-driven leaders. Let's start with the first topic, visualization. Mentally rehearse your future leadership self. And then I just talked about it, the house that I was looking for, I pictured the house that I wanted, I pictured exactly what I want in my life, when you actually visualize it. If you can see yourself doing it, it's going to happen, If you can't see yourself becoming a millionaire, your mind's not programmed for you to become a millionaire. Or, if I want to lift this much amount of weight at the gym, if I can't see myself doing it, well, your mind's already programmed that, I can't lift that much weight. I can't do this because your mind programmed you to tell you that you can't do it. But if you start visualizing and seeing yourself, and like I said, you read all these books, you listen to all these podcasts and all these speakers, they talk about it, visualizing yourself, doing what you want to do in life, seeing yourself do it. Can you see yourself being where you want to be? Can you see yourself driving the dream of your car, living in the house of your car and all this stuff? But you really got to see it. See it is to believe it, right? And seeing yourself do it, automatically, you visualizing it kind of goes to your mind, and then it automatically goes to your heart, and you start believing that all the stuff that you're telling yourself, and it works, Visualization is a big, powerful thing with also manifestation. You got to manifest, but you also got to visualize everything that you're doing.
You got to know where you're going again. It's like the finish line, but we did a whole episode on casting vision, right? And it goes back to that episode. So really casting your vision doesn't just apply to your organization or your family. It also applies to yourself. So when you go in and start manifesting, what is it? Like you said earlier, like what's your philosophy? What's your principles? What's your values? What's your legacy you're going to leave behind? You have to start there first. Like, what's my purpose? Like, do some deep soul searching. Find your purpose and then work it backwards. Like, okay, to get to this and to get to my legacy, what do I need to accomplish to get there? Or what do I need to accomplish to strive to get there? It's not a destination, like I said before, until we're done. Like, when I stop breathing, that's it. That I've done all I can do at that point. I've lived every single day. You look at guys like John Maxwell. John Maxwell's 72 years old, man. He's still getting into mastermind classes and trying to learn from other people. He's 72. He's in these classes with people that are literally half his age sometimes, learning from him, and still being an active learner through your entire life. So it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. but you have to be able to visualize what you want, like you said about the house, the car, the goals, the dreams, the aspiration, whatever it is. You have to see it before you can manifest it. And if you can see it, you can believe it. Like you said earlier, if you can see it, you can achieve it. So those two things, the vision and manifestation, go hand in hand. But now you got to bridge the connection between the conscious and subconscious mind, right? So after you visualize it, what do? Do you make a dream board? Do you make a, like, I want to have this physique, so I got this bodybuilder up here. I want this house, so I'm going to put this house up here. You're seeing it every single day, right? It's in your face. So now, after 2 months, are you still looking at it, or are you just walking by it, right? So if you're actively looking at those things every single day, you're visualizing it, which is, in turn, remapping your brain. Now your conscious is meaning your subconscious, and you're believing in yourself that you can get that physique, or you can get that mansion, you can get that car, whatever it is. And that's a powerful tool. The vision is very powerful.
That vision board, he said, a lot of people might laugh about it. And all these topics, a lot of people laugh about it because they don't really, know what they don't understand it. Or they don't haven't actually looked into it. They're like, oh, these guys are crazy. You guys, look, they're dreamers. But in reality, in life, we need to be dreamers.
If you're not a dreamer and you don't have anything to chase, what's your purpose?
Sometimes you got to be a dreamer. And sometimes we talked about it in a few episodes, about that. As a kid, they told us to dream. They told us to dream big, but as we grow up, what happens? Life
shrinks. People start kicking you.
You start getting punched all around. Kicked down, and you stop believing in those.
That
dreams.
Goes back to that RAS in the back of your head, though, because that's the traumas that you're talking about. It's I had this goal and I didn't achieve it and I failed, and now that trauma extends into your subconscious, which extends into your next goal you might be trying to reach. That's why it's important to win.
Yeah.
Winning it's habitual, it's consistent, it happens over and over and over. Once you do it, it's contagious. Winners like to win.
But those dream boards is very important. If you haven't done it, I'll tell you, do it. There's things that I have on my phone that I constantly look at, to keep on reminding myself that that's what I'm shooting for, that's what I want. I have a picture of my family all the time, my mom and dad keep on telling me, why do I do this every single day? It's for my parents, and my sisters and my brother, to make sure that they can be, I can leave a legacy where they can be proud of, and be able to give them a lifestyle that's totally different that we've been accustomed to. Just having all that stuff in front of you, I think it was Terry Crews. He talks about he had some pitch on it and eventually became, it was Steve Harvey. He talks about it in one of his things. He had something on his phone and he kept on having it, and eventually it becomes true because you're looking at it. Your mind automatically tells you, okay, how am I going to be able to do it? And it kind of touches on the book that I was reading yesterday with Jim Rohn, and he talks about it. He's like, your brain programs it, and some people tell myself I don't have enough, and we just talked about right now, I don't have enough money. Okay, well the answer is, how can I get enough money?
Exactly. They're looking at the obstacle instead of opportunity. I see it as opportunity, like, to make more money.
Yes. And when you gotta program all that and start dreaming, at one point you gotta come be a kid again and start dreaming a little bit, and start dreaming, start chasing it, and write down what you want, get those pictures that you want, but place them in an important part of your house. It could be the bathroom, it could be your bedroom where you wake up and that's the first thing you see, your bathroom. Put little pictures on your mirrors because that's exactly what you're gonna see when you're brushing your teeth, and just keep them, even have it in front of your car, and when you get into your car, you see exactly what you want and you start chasing that, and it keeps on telling you, why am I going? When those tough days, you're chasing that win, okay, you look at that and you keep on going, It's powerful. But let's go into the next one. Emotional affirmations. Attach feelings to what you declare.
I mean, when you reach a goal, you feel happy, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times, like, take physical fitness, for example. Like bodybuilders, like, one of the first things they do after a show is they're like, man, I'm going to go get that piece of pizza. Yeah. I'm going to go get that piece of cake. Whether they win or not, right? They're rewarding their progress. So it's not just about rewarding the end goal. And when you get there, you have to celebrate those small wins, like I said earlier. Yeah. Like, you have to, and I'm not saying give yourself a cheat day, right? Because that's gonna deter you from the overall goal. That's yourself an out. Yeah. Like I said earlier, when you say, oh, I'm going to try my hardest, that literally gives yourself an out, right? You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. There's no try. It's either you do or you don't, right? There's black and white, yes or no. And so when you give yourself an out like that, you give yourself opportunity to fail, and you don't want that. So you got to celebrate those small wins. So emotionally, that's what drives us, and that gives us our tickers, right? Whether it's making your bed, whether it's eating that piece of pizza after a bodybuilding show, but those small wins create the positive emotion.
Yeah.
And people like winning, like I said.
Yeah.
So the emotional side is directly related, and it's habitual.
Yeah.
I've said it before. Emotions are contagious,
Yes.
right? So if you're pissed off, everyone else around you is
Yes.
pissed off. If you're having a good time, everyone else is having a good time. So you have to make an intentional decision to be positive, be grateful, have that gratitude, the attitude of gratitude.
Yes,
We've talked
yes,
about that
yes,
before,
yes,
right?
yes.
So that's the emotional side of it that leads directly into the subconscious.
Yes.
Because if you're happy about something, subconsciously you're remapping your neurological pathways again.
Yeah.
To release that dopamine or serotonin to feel
Yes.
good when you win.
Yes.
So winning feels good. If I'm winning and we're winning together, we're gonna want to win together
Yes.
again. And that creates that mapping for you to obtain the manifestation that you're looking for or going after.
Let's go on to the next one, meditation or reflection, creating an awareness of mental patterns. Meditation and reflection, it's very important. Tomorrow I'm going to the beach, recharge.
There you go,
It might
that's
be
your
cold
spot.
right now, but I'm gonna go to the beach, recharge. I got a lot of things processing through my head right now, some stuff that I was thinking about, trying to get some things going. So I'm gonna go back to the beach, process it, meditate, reflect, get that game plan going and go towards it, and having that awareness that I need to do these things to get to where I want to be again.
Yeah, you gotta put everything in perspective. So you gotta find a place of serenity and quiet to reflect. Your inner dialogue determines that manifestation of your subconscious and your conscious, right? Whether it's through journaling and reflecting on your day, what you did good, what you did bad, what you need to be grateful for, what you need to work on, but also your spiritual, your faith too, right? That dialogue that you have with your higher power, your God, whether you're praying, whether you're journaling, whether you're just self-dialogue in a car, right?
Yeah.
It's important to have that internal dialogue as long as it's in a positive manner.
Yes.
Right? You got to be able to check it if it's negative because, like I said, emotions are contagious. So if you're sitting there, oh, man, this day sucks, or, oh, man, I got to go to the gym today, or, oh, man, I have to work today. Nah, you get to work today.
Yes.
It goes back to the analogy. The guy with no legs just wants to walk. The guy that walks wants a bike. The guy that bike wants a car. So you may be driving that 1989 Camry bitching about it, and some other dude's like, man, I wish I had a car.
Yeah.
So be grateful for it. But I think you have to make that conscious decision to really get to that point.
Let's go into the last one. It's an environment design. Surround yourself with reminders of your next level, and that's important. And it can be people. Me and you push each other all the time. We remind each other all
That's
the
the
time.
biggest one, I think.
That next one. We're always chasing that next one, and I even tell you, hey, bro, what you been doing? What you got going on? You tell me the same thing. Hey, I got this and this and this. Okay, let's go. Hey, have you done this? You tell me exactly the same. Hey, have you done this? And we're pushing each other. We're in that environment, and it's important to surround yourself with people that are willing to level you up, that willing to push you, and want to see you do better as well. But also your environment. Where are you surrounding yourself? You want to be the next bodybuilder, but you're at the bar every single night. You're going, you're drinking, you're wasting your life, or you want to become this successful person, but you're out partying every single day. That environment is important because you need to surround yourself with people that can get you and help you get to where you want to be, and that get to that journey and get to your destination and help you level up, And to me, environment is very important.
Environment's huge, though. I mean, like John Maxwell always said, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. It becomes who you are.
Yeah.
If you're in a room full of 9 millionaires, you'll be the 10th.
Yeah.
If you're in a room full of 9 crackheads, you're the 10th. So environment's huge, and that goes for not just your friends in your inner circle, but it also goes for where you live. If you're in a very poverty-stricken area, and that's when we start talking about division in classes and stuff like that, from poverty to rich. It's a mentality. Yeah. But if you're in a poverty-stricken area, a lot of times you grow up with that same mentality of the entitlement, I'll live off the government, I'll do this, because that's what you were raised in. You're a product of your environment.
Yes.
You have to willingly make a change, to remap your neurological system to say, hey, this sucks. Yeah. I'm not doing this no more. I'm going to get the hell out of here. So it goes for your physical environment, but it also goes back to your spiritual environment, right? If you're with people that don't align with you spiritually or mentally, you're not going to get there either. Like, you have to have people around you that have the same beliefs. Now, that's not to say don't be open-minded, right? We can learn something from every culture, every religion, every belief, every person we can learn things from, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes it's bad. Like, I'll never do that. We've all worked for that boss before where we're like, oh, man, that guy's a dick. Like, I will always take care of my people because I don't want to be that guy. And I worked for a guy like that probably 20-something years ago, man. The guy was just a complete ass, and I'm thankful I work for him
Yeah.
because that's where I got a lot of my leadership. I was
Yes.
like, I will never be that guy, or I'll never be that lazy, that's supposed to work at 4 o'clock, and here comes 4 o'clock. I should be getting out of here, and he's calling, oh, I'm gonna be a little late. All right, cool, no problem. And all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm gonna be a little late. Okay, now it's 8 o'clock. All of a sudden I'm working 12 hours. Oh man, you've already there. You just go ahead and close it down.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm 18 hours into my day because he's a terrible leader.
Yes.
I learned from that too. So you learn from the environment, not just the physical environment, but also the mental environment.
Yeah.
If you're in a toxic place, how are you ever supposed to positively manifest? If you're in a toxic relationship, how are you supposed to manifest? How are you supposed to, you got to get out of that or change the relationship or have those tough conversations, those courageous conversations. We did an episode on that too, right?
Yes.
You got to let it be known where you stand and have those conversations. So not just physically where you're at, not just your job where you're at, your friends where you're at, spiritually where you're at, your environment plays a huge role on manifestation and just mental health.
Let's get into this last topic: manifesting as a leader, leadership manifestation, embodying the vision of yourself you want to become. You attract the level of opportunities that match your self-concept. When you raise your internal standards, your external results rise too. You don't chase, you attract what you align with.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with what you attract is what you align with.
Yes.
You will never get something just because you hoped for it or wished for it, right? You have to align your actions like we talked about. You have to align your personal being, right? You have to, your personal visualization. You have to attract. You are what you attract, right?
Yes.
So if I'm a negative person, I'm gonna attract other negative people. If I'm a positive person, other positive people are gonna love me. They're gonna attract to me. Those negative people are gonna be like, man, that guy's always pissing butterflies and rainbows. Like I can't stand that guy. He's so positive. So you really do attract that, but we have to make a conscious decision too to not get stuck in that, because if we're all similar and we're all alike, what am I learning from those people? So you also have to, so besides your inner circle, you still have to have an outer circle that challenges you at the same time, right? So those people come along, and you want to have some of those people in your life that will push back, because if you don't have that pushback and everyone's just over here getting along, we're all good. That's one thing you got to think about too, that I don't think enough people really talk about.
It says raise your internal standards and your external results rise too. It's your standards.
100%.
I talked about that Snoop Dogg one, right?
Pretty.
You have your standards up here and you can't drop them down, but when you raise your standards, everybody that wants to be around you is going to level up with you, and they're going to raise the standards, and everything around you is going to go up with you, and that's your standards, your beliefs. And people start following through and going with it, and that's, to me, it's super big about that, not dropping your standards and keeping those standards up here, because, and I talked about Chop Wood, Carry Water, about the house story, you drop your standards, you make a shitty house.
All of a sudden you're living in a terrible house.
That you just created for yourself, and that's a result of what a lot of people nowadays live, they make a half-ass house, now they got to live in it, and they want to play the blame game, and they because they wanted to do a half-ass job instead of doing the job how they were supposed to do it. And you talk about it, it's integrity, doing it with integrity.
Well, one of the things you got to think about too with that specific topic, and I've told you this before, because a lot of people get stuck. They have more talent and they're working harder, so comparison is the thief of all joy, right? But I always told you, because you were always a kick-ass cook, right? I'm like, you get mad, you're like, oh, so-and-so didn't do it, right? And I'm going to relate this story, and I would always tell you, hey, man, you got the Michael Jordan syndrome. Remember me telling you that?
Yeah.
So Michael Jordan plays at this level. Like, he ain't going to come down here because his team sucks.
Yeah.
He's either going to elevate him or get him out.
Yeah.
He's going to transition him out, right? So I think people got to understand that you don't want to play down to other people's level. You really got to hold your standards as high as you can and hold yourself accountable too. That goes back to, we talked about that in previous episodes too. Your self-accountability and your integrity really dictates your skill level and the people that are around you.
And I said, you don't chase, you attract. Don't ever chase money. When you chase money, it never comes to you. But when you do the things that you need to do, that money attracts to you. It starts just coming in, and it's called abundance. Having that abundance and that gratitude and all these things align with it.
Everything.
When you talk to yourself that I am a magnet of money, money comes to me, I attract money. And like I said, my mentor, that unknown person, tells me that too. Because I see this guy make money crazy.
More money though.
He's always
That's the
hustling, and money just attracts to him. He's like, okay. And I like this mindset. It's not a loss, it's an investment. I know if I say, I got this product right here, I'm gonna give it to someone, Okay, and what's that going to do? That
Exactly.
person's going to come buy that product off of me now because I gave him a sample. He's like, okay. He's like, that's an investment. He's like, you attract what you want. You're scared of money. Money's never going to come to your hands.
You know how many books I've given out at the airport? Like I had all these
Yeah.
books, right? And I throw some every time I travel somewhere. I take like 4 or 5 of my books. I put them in my bag, and I'll be talking to someone, or they'll be reading a book. And I'm like, hey, what are you reading? Hey, give this one a read next. That could be seen as a loss, right? Because
Yeah.
I paid for that book out of my own pocket, and I'm just giving it to them. But my goal is not to make money on my books. My goal is, like I said, to touch as many people, help as many people as I can. So, like you said, it's an investment. Now that person reads it and they're like, oh, I like this. Give it to the next person. Give it to the next person. That's just helping the cause. It's an
And
investment.
there's a story, you're going to know the story. There's a person that started, I think it was a wheelbarrow, started having ribs, right? He started giving out ribs because his business wasn't functioning. And guess what happened? That business became super big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge, and giving out samples, but knowing that you're going to get a reward back from doing that job,
Yeah.
investing. That's called investing.
It's investing, but you also get feedback. Like if you're giving out a product and it sucks, you're gonna hear, hey man, thank you. It's free. People will bitch about free.
Yeah.
People will complain about a free lunch all day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the opportunity of the investment on that point is the feedback you get from it. So now you can make changes
Yes.
to make things better.
Let's wrap it up, man. I think that you guys got some good information. Let's go back to it. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Let me give you this question. What belief do you need to reprogram to lead at your next level? Think about it, think about it. Give us a message on Spotify. I also started a TikTok. I'm also on YouTube. We're extending our platforms. I'm working on hopefully getting Apple Music sooner than later. But, get on our platforms, write that question, put those topics like we always say. Don't be afraid, man. Start helping us out. We're just trying to build other leaders up and trying to create the next leaders of the high desert of America, whatever we can.
Interact with it, give us a question, give us a comment. If you like something, cool. If you didn't like something, I welcome feedback. Tell us what you don't like too. That way we can challenge it or we can change it and we can do something different.
If you say I don't like his little mustache, I'll shave the mustache off. Don't be
What
afraid
mustache?
to
What are you talking about? I don't even see a mustache there.
Don't be afraid to throw out some comments and let us know exactly what you think of it. Those questions, that feedback, we want it all. Keep on growing. I know I was telling him yesterday, the first podcast to now, we've transitioned so much, and I feel like we're only getting better, and eventually we're going to be where we want to be. We got a lot of projects working. We got a lot of opportunities coming in our hands, with the grace of God and, God first, everything's going to align and we're going to be able to do more things in the future. But the greatest legacy isn't what you build. It's who you become while building it. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Keep leading from within. This is Legacy Leaders. We're out.